Welcome to the Jennifer Sheehan Show. I'm Jennifer. I'd love to hear from you. Go to thejennifersheehanshow.com. Follow me on social media, and I'd love to hear any comments on the show. I would love to introduce you to Damaris Taylor. Hi, Damaris.
Hello.
So good to have you on today.
Thank you.
You look beautiful, and we match. Was it planned?
I don't think so, but you know, pink is my signature color.
I love pink. So you went to Dallas Baptist University.
Yes.
And you had been praying specifically for a husband. And I actually prayed specifically as well, so it's very interesting when you pray specifically.
Right. Yes.
And so you met your boyfriend first, who became your husband, and you dated for 6 years.
Right.
And what was he studying?
He was a biblical studies major. He wanted to be a pastor. He had such passion for the ministry and such passion for the Lord that he loved to witness to people at any given moment.
And you knew when you were praying and then you met him, you're like, okay, he checks off everything on my list.
Yep, I did have a little checklist, and he pretty much covered it all. Yes.
So you dated for 6 years, and you got married, and you were married for 3 years, right?
Yes, yes.
So you right away got pregnant with Ethan, your precious son.
My precious
I love
son.
Ethan and Trinity.
Thank you. I love them.
So, so you got pregnant with Trinity, and then one day your husband's at work, and tell us what happened.
He called me to tell me he was gonna go to my parents' house, who do not live very far. He wanted to work on our yard, so he was getting some yard equipment, and that he was gonna be on his way. And I noticed that it was taking a while.
And both houses are in Frisco, your house and your parents' house are in Frisco.
Yes, just maybe 15 minutes away from one another. And an hour had gone by, and it just didn't seem right. I knew something was wrong when I kept calling him and he wasn't answering. And I'm thinking he should be here by now. And I don't know, something told me there's something wrong. So I took Ethan. I was already 9 months pregnant. Put him in the car seat and decided to take the route that we normally would take. And I came across the car accident, and I see his car. And I parked, I pulled over, I parked, and I walked over towards the scene of the accident, but I didn't want to look too much at the cars, at the vehicles, and the shape that they were in. I did not want to see. But I asked the police officer that was there, do you know who was there? I think that's my husband's car. And he said, yes, ma'am. He was taking in-care flight in critical condition.
Wow.
And my heart just sank. But I don't know. I just thought he'll be fine. He's just probably has a broken leg. I don't know.
How did the scene look to you when you came? I mean, that's like a worse fear. I mean, here you are, 9 months pregnant, with Ethan was 2, right?
2 years old.
So 2 years old, and you get in your car to go on the route that you would normally go on, but not really thinking that you're going to see that. Correct.
Yeah.
And then you see that, and my gosh.
I mean, you know, you see the siren lights and the ambulance and by the time I got there, he was already taken. So by the time I got there, it was just the wreck. It was just the vehicle. But like I said, it looked pretty bad, but I didn't want to look too close because, I don't know, it was going to be horrific. But I immediately called my mom and dad, and they came and met me where I was. And we all drove together to the hospital.
Right, you said your mom was in the back seat.
Yes, my mom was in the back seat, and I could hear her praying. I could hear her praying out loud, and I honestly didn't even know what to think. But in the back of my mind, he probably just has a broken leg, a broken arm, or something like that. But it was concerning when those words, critical condition, were like stuck in my head.
And the fact that he wasn't there.
And he wasn't at the scene anymore. He was already taken to the hospital. So
I can't imagine. I don't think that a lot of people would do what you did, like that you would just get in the car and go look for him. I think most people would have
Kinda
waited, or So, but you knew something was wrong, went on that route that you normally went to get to your parents' house. And it's also very interesting that it was so close, both in Frisco and just on his way home. So you
Yes.
just talked to him like any other day.
Right.
And then you had mentioned that it was a 19-year-old boy that was driving the other car.
Yes, this young man ran a red light.
Wow.
And hit my husband's car. I don't know. All I know is that he ran a red light.
Right.
Um,
Isn't that just crazy? I mean, one day everything's all great, life is great.
right.
You were building and you
We
built
had
a
just
new
built
house.
a house. We were only there a few months.
And then pregnant, and
I was,
already had
he was
a
thrilled to
son.
have a little girl on the way. He always wanted to have a little girl that would be wrapped around her finger. That's what he would say, and he was thrilled. And even on the way, on that last conversation that we had, we were discussing names for her.
Wow.
And I was so indecisive about it, but he liked the name Trinity. So the name stayed,
Right.
needless to say, but he was very thrilled. We had just built a house, and we had, new furniture. So all our dreams were becoming a reality, just starting out a family, a baby girl on the way. It was what we had always dreamed of.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you get in that car, you go on the route, and then you see that wreck.
Mm-hmm.
It's heartbreaking to me we've known each other for a long time, like
Yes.
over 15 years now,
Yes,
you and
yes.
I. And I remember when I first met you and you told me this, and I'm like, it just broke my heart that you have had to go through this. When we come back, words that no wife ever wants to hear. We'll be right back.
The Jennifer Sheehan TV show is real people with real stories of redemption, miracles, and overcoming. This is a TV Christian show that gives God all the glory. The show is a 501c3 nonprofit, giving back 100% of donations towards the Jennifer Sheehan TV show. We also partner with Operation Care International, serving and supporting the homeless. In a world that is spreading fake hope, only Jesus Christ and the Holy Bible have the supernatural power to change people and their circumstances. Production for the Jennifer Sheehan TV show is extensive, and we need partners to keep it on air. If you believe in our cause, please prayerfully consider to be a partner for a $20 donation a month or more. May God bless you.
I've always believed that trust is one of the greatest compliments someone can receive. When our clients trust our team to handle one of their largest financial decisions they'll ever make, we take that very seriously. Having been in the business for over 36 years, I know that trust does not come easily, it has to be earned. Our team is committed to providing the best real estate service possible with the ultimate goal of having a seamless transaction and as little stress as possible. Let us show you why we are the best in the business.
It takes a village to raise a kid and change the world.
But today, we are more disconnected than ever.
But our children still have the same problems.
No self-esteem, no social skills, and lack of grit.
As a teacher, the most difficult challenge we face
is to teach kids who see no value in education.
Ethos Village is a digital tool that engages kids, parents, and teachers.
So we can engage parents and kids in a fun and entertaining environment.
And this great curriculum is highlighted by experienced parents, professional athletes, and celebrities
that tell the real life stories.
Stories of struggle and success
that show kids, parents, and teachers
the sky's the limit.
Visit www.ethosvillage.com.
Join the village, Ethos Village.
Welcome back to the Jennifer Sheehan Show. So, Damaris, you see the wreck, you go to the hospital, and then they tell you that a bishop was coming. What did the bishop do?
He was very quiet. He handed me my husband's wallet, his wedding ring, And I didn't really know what to think, and he wasn't saying a whole lot. But he did, I was sitting on the couch, and he comes and kneels next to me, hands me the belongings, and he starts to pray for me, pray for my family at that moment. And I didn't really have a good feeling at that moment.
Right, but you didn't want to ask. Like, who would want to ask? Because then you would have to hear what happened.
Exactly. And they weren't saying anything, but just there was something in the air that was kind of dark, and just him kneeling and praying.
Right. You knew something wasn't good.
Yeah.
So the doctor came in, and what did he say?
He was a woman doctor, and I just remember her sitting on the couch next to mine and just shaking her head like this and saying, "I'm sorry, but your husband didn't make it." And I just didn't even know how to react at that moment. And I feel myself even more pregnant, and just thinking, but we're about to have another baby.
Right.
And I remember saying that out loud, and the doctor just saying, "Yes, I know."
So I'm sure that just broke the doctor's heart for you, because now you're pregnant, 9 months pregnant,
right. And
have
they can
a 2-year-old,
see a little boy, you know, pregnant.
And your husband's gone.
And
like
he's
that.
gone. And he's gone. Yeah.
How mad were you when once the shock wore off?
I was in shock for a while. I mean, even the next morning, I spent probably an hour on the phone with insurance and doctors, and I was on the phone with, like, I guess he was a hospital staff, asking about his organs and donating everything imaginable. And I was just on the phone. Yes. How about lung tissue? Yes. How about his eyes? Yes.
Wow.
And that was about an hour conversation. And I was just still in shock, and just looking back, how did I even function?
Right.
You know, but it's nothing but the grace of God. Nothing but the grace of God that just held me together to continue and to make the phone calls that I needed to make. And it's all the grace of God.
And you were mad and bitter because here you are, 9 months pregnant, 2-year-old, just built a house, just moved into the house.
Right, just a few months.
How the heck are you going to survive?
Yes, I did. I honestly can say that I was a little bit angry and a little bit bitter. And I didn't want to be that way.
Right. What did your brother say to you?
Well, I remember I was changing Trinity's diaper. She was just a newborn. She was a little fussy, and I was getting cranky. And I was just struggling to change her diaper, and I just yelled out loud, "I hate my life." And my brother, my sweet brother, was next to me saying, "Don't say that." And just the way that he said it, it was kind of like a realization from me. I'm like, I can't do this. Why am I saying I hate my life? I can't do this. I have children to raise.
Right.
They can't have an angry, bitter mom. They cannot be raised that way. And from that moment on, I just began to pray for peace and joy specifically. Peace and joy, peace and joy. Lord, give me peace and joy. I can't have my children be raised by an angry mom.
Right.
Yeah.
And you were the most kind, sweet person. I've known you for a long time. And
Thank
but
you.
but my gosh, who could blame you for being bitter and mad that you had all your dreams coming true, and then just like that, your husband's
Everything
gone
just-
and leaves you alone, and then your son and daughter, Ethan and Trinity, aren't going to know their dad.
Right. That was the most heartbreaking thing for me, that they wouldn't know their dad. And how wonderful he was.
I'm just so sorry that you had to go through all of that.
It's all by the grace of God that I faced it all.
Right.
I just give him the credit. If it wasn't for having the Lord in my life, I don't know how I would have functioned. There's no way. There's no way. If it wasn't for that peace and that hope that we have in Jesus, if it's not because of that, I mean, how could I have functioned?
Right.
It's the foundation.
Absolutely.
Yes.
In our next segment, God answers Damaris's prayer. The Jennifer Sheehan magazine is both printed and digital and sent out to hundreds of thousands. The printed version of the magazine is strategically placed in local affluent businesses. The digital version is emailed, placed on social media, and promoted on the Jennifer Sheehan TV show every week. See digital magazine, packages, and prices at thejennifersheehanmagazine.com.
Running toilets waste water. Did you know the average running toilet wastes around 70,000 gallons every year? We can help. Visit BenjaminFranklinPlumbing.com to request an appointment. Back in my day, we used to call toilets the prig.
I was constantly bombarded with this message that said, you're a young African-American male, you need to be a thug or you need to be a hustler. My mom would take my brother and I to the movies to detach from our life. Michael Bay's film, The Rock, came out, and I was just blown away by this portrayal of men who were going in to go sacrifice themselves to save others. I thought if I was to ever turn my life around, that's what I would do.
It is estimated that 26 million Americans have an organ-related problem. At any one time, there are over 100,000 people in the United States waiting for a life-saving organ transplant. I'm a walking miracle. 27 years ago, I was blessed with a perfect match for a heart transplant. But millions are not so lucky. A heart can only be kept for up to 6 hours before transplantation. This is where the David Nicholas Organ Donor Awareness Foundation provides help. We offer free housing for those waiting for a life-saving transplant who travel to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, among many other life-saving measures. But most importantly, we offer love and compassion from a recipient's point of view for those waiting for their transplant. Please visit nicholasfoundation.org and learn how you too can spread love. Please join us and be a hero and help us save a life.
Welcome back to the Jennifer Sheehan Show. So you had gotten the credit card statements before your husband passed away, and there was a $4.95 charge that you had brought to his attention.
Right.
And he said he would handle it.
Right.
But he didn't.
No.
So when you're making all the phone calls after he passed away, one of them was to that credit card company.
Right.
What happened?
Well, I called that number on that line item for the $4.95 to inquire what it was for. Long story short, I called the number, I gave them all the information, and they said, oh yes, you qualify for life insurance for $100,000.
Did you about fall out of your chair?
Yes, just about.
You're like, good thing you didn't take that $4.95 charge off.
Yeah, because I had asked him, find out what that is and get it taken off, because he kept charging every month.
Right.
And I called the number, and all they needed was for me to send them the death certificate by fax, I believe. And yes, ma'am, you qualify for, based on the information you give us, you qualify for $100,000.
Wow.
We will be sending that to you.
Such a blessing. That's how God rolls, right?
I had no idea.
And then what happened with his job?
He had 2 jobs. He worked part-time at the church as a youth pastor. And obviously that doesn't always pay the bills. So he had a full-time job, and that full-time job in sales also provided life insurance for $50,000.
Wow.
So a
and
miracle,
then they paid his
check,
his paycheck for the rest of the year?
They paid his salary for the rest of the year
So
at the
6
church.
months?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So you got $100,000 that you didn't know was going to come, $50,000 life insurance. The company, his business, paid for the end of the year 6 months.
Right.
And then you said anonymous checks. You were getting anonymous
I would
checks
get
in the mail?
anonymous checks in the mail, or letters from people who heard my story, from precious women, just sending me little checks here and letters of encouragement. Just people who heard my story through other people. It was incredible, and how God has provided, how He provided during that difficult time.
Like blind faith, like you were totally in blind faith because you're pregnant, you have a 2-year-old,
yes.
Your husband dies in a car crash, You
new
don't know
mortgage. How was I going to pay the mortgage? How was I going to do? And I remember,
like this would look so hopeless to anybody. Like, how am I going to do this?
How do you survive that? And I remember looking at my dad and saying, what am I supposed to do? What do I do? And that blind faith you have, I felt like I have to trust the Lord like never before, like going in a dark room blindfolded. Lord, you are going to have to guide me because I have no clue. What am I supposed to do now?
Wow.
And how he provided and orchestrated and gave and provided everything that we needed, everything that my children needed.
And you had to be a stay-at-home mom and take care of the kids.
That's the biggest blessing for me at the time. I could have, tried to get a job and find daycare for my kids. That's not where my heart was, but obviously if I needed to, I would. But God provided and gave, and I was able to stay at home. How does a widow is able to stay at home with a brand new mortgage and with her 2 little babies?
Nothing but miracles from God.
It's all from the Lord. It's all from the Lord.
It's such a beautiful testimonial.
Yes.
So you guys were going to the church that he was working at, and you decided to visit Prestonwood. And I will never forget that 15 years ago, I was by myself, you were by yourself. I was sitting not even at the end of the pew, but kind of in the middle. And I see you walking in, and God's like, grab her. Good thing I'm pretty obedient quickly when I can feel him. And I was like, okay. So I get up and I was like, hey, are you looking for somewhere to sit? Come sit with me.
I'll never forget that either. I
got goosebumps saying it.
I was fairly new. It was probably my first time at that church.
I think it was.
It was. And I'm walking in, a brand new church. It's
in
pretty big.
45,000 members.
Pretty big.
You're brave to even walk in.
Yeah, all by myself and just, okay, where do I sit? And I hear you and I feel you and come sit right here. And I just felt such warmth. Right. I really did. I felt such
just more
warmth.
Miracles from God.
Yes, just that you were so inviting and so warm and friendly.
And then just changed phone numbers, exchanged, and been friends all these years.
Yes,
and then it was so crazy. So we go to the Fall Festival at Prestonwood, me and Sean and Jared. Jared was really young then. And you had met Michael. So Michael was a friend of mine, an usher, and he gave you the program guide.
Right, that's how we met.
And then you said you then saw each other at the bookstore, right? And then you went to the Fall Festival, and I see you and Trinity and Ethan and Michael, and I'm like, oh, you guys! And you're like, and I'm like, yay!
Yes.
Like, I was so happy because I knew him and what a great guy he was, and I knew you and how amazing you were, and here you were a widow, and I think I just had like a grin, like ear to ear.
Thank you. Yes. Well, you know how I pray for peace and joy? I think that's exactly what Michael represents.
Yes.
He's that peace and joy that I had prayed for. That's exactly what he brings to my life and to my family's life.
I love that. Yes. And raised the kids as his own.
He's raised his kids as his own, loved them as his own, and teaches them and loves them in every way possible as his own. And to my children, he's dad.
Right.
That's their dad. Yeah.
I love that.
A blessing and an answered prayer. That's why I always refer to him as a godsend.
Oh, I
because
love
he
that.
is. Yes.
I remember you said when you first met him and you walked into Preston, which you met me first.
I did.
And him second.
For the record, yes.
Just for the record.
Yes, I met you first, months before.
But when you met him, what was that encounter like the first time?
I was walking into the sanctuary, and there's ushers and greeters, and he was handing out the program. And I remember walking in, and there's this tall, blonde gentleman, and he greeted me, handed me the program, and smiled and complimented me on my smile. And I was a little taken back by that, yes.
You're like, oh, he's cute.
Yes, I thought so, yes.
I love that. I'm so happy that God answered that prayer, that he gave you the peace and joy, that he gave you a husband, that he took care of you. God is just so good. And from the first time I got this TV show over a year ago now, I wanted to have you on, giving this beautiful story of God's miracles.
Thank you very much.
So thank you for sharing.
Thank you for having me.
It. And thank you for being my friend all these years.
Thank you. You're lovely.
I love you, girl.
I love you.
When we come back, you too can have peace and joy.
One of the worst days of my life was when I was told that my 7-year-old twin son, Johnny, had cancer. Over 300,000 children are diagnosed with cancer every year. The Kids Shouldn't Have Cancer Foundation is determined to end pediatric cancer. Your gift of $15 a month will give these kids a voice they deserve.
Just if you see this video, thank you. 'Cause I'm just a kid.
Drip, drip, drip. Becky, can you hear me? Becky, what pose is this? What are you doing? Drip. Oh, I pulled something. Oh, I pulled my handle.
Dripping faucets are annoying. Did you know that a dripping faucet can waste over 2,000 gallons of clean water every year? We can help. Visit BenjaminFranklinPlumbing.com to request an appointment. Back in my day, this was called stretching.
The world is becoming a divided place. Political discord, racism, and war are tools of hate, but we can stand against this. You will have the unique opportunity to participate in the March of Remembrance, an event that brings people together for education, healing, and reconciliation. Be an upstander. Take a stand against anti-Semitism and hate. For more information and to register, go to www.mordallas.org.
Most people didn't know I was missing my legs until I got out of the pool. I just liked beating these girls with legs. I started getting sponsorships and winning awards, signed a deal with Nike, and I'm in Sports Illustrated, reached the next gold medal, set the next world record. That's where my worth was. But at the same time, I was just broken and sad a lot. And I just think I just couldn't do it alone anymore.
Welcome back to the Jennifer Sheehan Show. You can have peace and joy as well by asking God for it. If you haven't prayed to receive Jesus as your Lord and Savior, pray with me. Jesus, I know you died on the cross for my sin. You rose on the third day. Please forgive me for my sin. I receive you as my Lord and Savior. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Tune in next week for another incredible story.